My name is Kaira, and I'm so happy to be back with you today for our next Certified Sophia Circle Leadership interview. This has been such a special journey to go on with our certified leaders who are co-creating our movement to activate humanity's sovereign divinity with the sacred text of the Sophia Code. Today, one of our certified leaders that brings so much joy to my heart. Like when I think of this individual, I think of this person in synonymous with the word joy, honestly. For as long as I have known her, she has been a radiant joy to experience. And I just want to welcome Jade Orth to today's KR Daily Transmission. And Jade is joining us live in this moment from Arizona. And we're here to talk about all things Sophia Code, Sophia Circle journeys, her, what it was like for her stepping into the certification program. And Jade also just volunteered with us at the Austin Sovereign Spiritual Leadership Immersive. So we have so much to talk about, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome, Jade.
Thank you so much, Kaira. Oh, see, I can't even stop smiling already. I'm already having so much fun.
I'll never forget the first time I saw you. I believe it was in Sedona. And is that correct? Okay. And usually at events, it's really tricky because I'm in such a channeled state that I don't always see people or see them as they see themselves. And so I'm glad that I'm on point there with that memory. And I remember witnessing you in the community. And I think you asked a question about parenting and guiding this new generation of children, these very special children that have been coming in. And I remember like the radiance, the joy, and the sincere prayer of your heart to minister to these children, this new generation. So yeah, I'm so grateful that you found the Sophia Code, that the Sophia Code led you to Sedona, led you to our community, and eventually guided, inspired you to become a Sophia Circle leader. I'd love to hear from you. How did you find out about the Sophia Code? Tell us about the beginning of your journey with this movement.
Thank you so much. And I love just being able to watch that movie replay and how I was then showing up to that event. So I found the Sophia Code in the fall of 2019. And so I devoured it. I remember the intro, I'm sobbing and I'm like, this is it. And I remember heading to my son's baseball game and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to, stop the book. But my eyes are all swollen and stuff just because it was such the good news. And the second I finished the book, I was like, I have to find who Kaira is. So I Googled you and that's when I started to find all the events. But it's funny that the dragons were already calling me in through meditation because I had never worked with dragons before. I kind of thought oh, they're not my thing. But because they were so strong in the meditations, when I saw the book cover at a meditation studio we have here in Arizona, I was like, I have to read this. And so that's kind of how it all came together.
So the Sophia dragons were coming to you in meditation before you ever found the book to let you know the book was coming?
Yeah, and to let me know that it's safe to go into something with dragons, just because it was so, fairies, all those things, great. But dragons, I just never felt like I resonated with. So it kind of created that softening for my heart.
I love that. And I feel as though there's a lot of people that at first feel a little just taken aback that we're talking about dragons as angels in the Sophia Code, and they don't know where they stand with it. They know they're drawn to the Sophia Code, but because of the dragons, there's either people are all in because they're finally something about dragons, or they're I don't know, because of the dragons. So share with me in your journey, when you first found the Sophia Code and you were reading about the Sophia dragons, how did they support you to open up to the rest of the book?
So I had been Mother Mary was somebody that was always really prevalent in my life early on. And so because I was able to see the dragons, there's Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, all these people that I was all these ascended masters, I was okay. And so how they started to help me, it was I can't even really focus on like how to explain what happened when I entered into the codex. It's really multidimensional, so it's hard to put into words, but it was to the point where every time I got deeper, it was like more of a homecoming, more of a I'm on the right track. And then it's really fun to have them come in and support you. And at first you're like, oh, coincidences. And they're like, no, this is not coincidences. It is just literally showing you how reality, like you're co-creating with the Ascended Masters.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard for me to explain it. Just knowing that it was pure magic, like that fall was the biggest like exhale and inhale of my life.
Wow, I really feel that. And over how long was it as you were integrating this new revelation that fall from that point in 2019? Like, when did you know you were going to enter the certification program? When did you know your journey, your divine purpose was connected with the Sophia Code?
It's so funny that you say that. So I started to kind of get hints. Like I kind of joked to myself that in my social security number 333, my driver's license 3333. So it's like, okay, something's going on here. But I didn't think that I wanted to be a Sophia Circle leader. It wasn't until Sedona where I was like, I'm all in. Like whatever this is, like I'm all in. And I had a conversation with Ashley Phoenix thinking, okay, Sophia Circle leadership or Stargate 2. And it was like everything in me just like led me here to Sophia Circle leadership. And it was funny because I had a lot of like, oh, but we have to read from a manual. And like, I had a lot of resistances about that.
Yeah.
And it ended up being like the biggest blessing of my life. Being
That's
able to facilitate in that way. Yeah.
Wow, I really want to talk more about that. But before we do that, just staying on that journey that we are on with you, at your journey with the Sophia Code, what was it like to go through the certification program? What really stood out for you doing Sophia Circle Leadership certification training? Like, share a little bit about that with us.
So it was amazing to have like, so I'm a mom of three, and in previous times it used to be hard for me to like set aside time for myself. I
Yes.
kept continuing to get better and better as far as knowing that that's how I can show up better for them. So to have the training that we were going through live, like I knew there was going to be a class, I knew there were modules. It put me into this like self mastery practice of tending to myself and then seeing how I was better showing up in my family. And
Wow.
even like, my husband, like he was like, whatever this is, whatever you're doing, like keep on going, because they were seeing sides of me that like I hadn't really been able to, them to see. So the whole training, it was like, I mean, my whole life changed the way I showed up in every single relationship.
That's extraordinary. What do you feel? So there, what I'm hearing is like, because the living transmission was supporting you to show up to this structure that was
Yes.
supporting your self mastery. It helped you create more sovereign space as an individual, both within your partnership and also with your children, which only served them more.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
incredible. That's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible, because as we all know, like, motherhood of one child is a full-time job, and we're talking about three. So,
Yes.
and a partnership. So that's really saying something. And what an extraordinary woman you are to recognize that as you put yourself first and your ministry first, it creates even more space for you to love others, people that
Absolutely.
matter most to you.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
this is such a great conversation. What do you feel was the breakthrough module for you in the certification program? What was the defining moment where you were like, whoa?
Oh, that's good. So it was honestly between like Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene,
Mhm.
because Mother Mary, who I just love so much, it was all about the clear communication, the clear boundaries, and I was able to see all the places and spaces that like that's not how I was operating, or at least not, continue to grow into. And so it was the perfect module for me to like totally trust, Mother Mary. I'm like, sure, whatever you need from me. But that was the one where I was like, oh, it's time to get to work. Like, that's what I felt like. Yeah.
And it was the partnership of the two Marys working with you, because you're saying from Mother Mary to Mary Magdalene. And so how do you feel as though Mary Magdalene came in that Key Code 5 transmission alongside with Mother Mary to support you in the program? What did you notice was unique between the two Marys?
So what I felt like is Mother Mary kind of, it was like, it kind of helped my inner child along with it.
Yeah.
And then Mary Magdalene, sometimes you refer to her as your big sister. So that's kind of how I felt. It was finding that balance of like, hey, it's safe to do this, and like you're going to get it done. Like, you're going to do the work. So I feel like them together was the perfect energy of like being okay, feeling like I'm so worthy to do this work, and knowing that it still has to be done. Like, it's time to roll up your sleeves. So that was like the balance that they offered me. And that was a really transformational time in my life. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And then I'm reading in your interview notes that you shared with me that Isis, once you became certified, became a guiding light mentor for your Sophia Circle Journey Ministry. Do you want to share a little bit more about that?
So I love Isis, and I didn't really work with her as closely. And so right before I started my circle, she came in strong, she came in hot, and it was like really, I was guided to do her initiation over and over. And I started to see all the like fears of past life stuff coming up that was still affecting, me starting circles. And so she really worked with me, and she hasn't stopped. She's like, it's all about Isis. She's with me every day, all day, because there's that, I feel kind of like that energy that I was talking about of Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. I feel like she like embodies like that in one. That's kind of how it feels. So
she's the ultimate mentor for entrepreneurs, people who are truly committed to right livelihood with their divine purpose. Like, yeah, when it's game on to step into the adulting of your divine purpose, it's like, then Isis steps forward and is like, okay, we're going to go be spiritually mature adults together and complete
100% what's going on.
And that was a big step for me with Isis as well. I was already serving when Isis really came in to mentor me in a much more prolific and in my face sort of way. And that's when my ministry became public, not private. It went from private clientele to being on stage, as I shared in Austin. So, and then you also shared that you had a dream about White Buffalo Woman in connection to your first Sophia Circle journey that you facilitated. Do you want to share about the dream that you had?
I do. And it's interesting. It was one of those dreams that like, she had never come to me that way. I've always kind of like reached out to her and then backed away and then reached out, and it's almost like it hadn't been time. But I felt like it was almost like a dream just telling me that everything's going to be okay. She's towards the end of, the codex. And so it was kind of like with her coming in, it was that everything's going to be okay. Like, you need to get it done. But she was also very much like ready to go. And so I felt like it was just a support that I hadn't yet felt, especially from her, that gave me like so many, it was support from all angles. But that dream really helped me because I had never really touched into her, and it came in so vividly. I was like, I am on the right path. Like, there is no question about it. This is exactly where I'm meant to be.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I love that you spoke about reading the Key Code 1 initiation over and over again. Were you surprised that the more you did the same initiation, the more you could witness the unconscious layers of resistance and defensiveness or obstacles that were getting in your way?
Yes. Like, it's almost to the point where I have to laugh, because it's like, there was a space where I wasn't in my spiritual maturity where it was that like kind of victim mentality, like I'm doing all the work, like blah, 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 or maybe that's the diva, I don't know. But it was like, oh, there's so much to uncover and it's okay. And so when I would read the initiation, there would be like a block of 4 lines that I would just be crying. And I was like, oh, that's what we're really, and then I'd read it again and there would be another portion. And so I was like, how interesting is this? But that's the living transmission for you.
Yeah, I just got chills through my whole body that your body's wisdom was identifying which parts of the key code initiation was working on different layers of you. As you returned to that initiation again and again. I feel like that's what I find so inspiring about people who have committed to the certification program and then have graduated and have gone on to lead journeys. There is such a humble power about our Sophia Circle leaders. I don't know if you felt that when we were all serving in Austin together, but it's extraordinary to witness leaders who are committed to sovereignty, the equanimity of sovereignty, and who have been willing to be genuinely mentored by these ascended masters to understand, oh, wow, it is really tricky dismantling the ego structure. It takes time, it takes integration, it takes a lot of hard feelings. And no one's judging me while this is happening, because Isis is helping me do this. If she was judging me, she wouldn't be helping me, right? Yeah. And it's amazing to witness what it's like when multiple leaders choose that kind of spiritual training and then come together to co-create together from that consciousness. What did that feel like for you when we passed the mic over to our certified leaders, which included you, to help us lead that ceremony at our Sovereign Spiritual Leadership Immersive? What did it feel like to be co-creating with your fellow leaders?
Incredible. So many feelings, right? It was like, I was honored and humbled and excited. And I had all the like fear and, different hard feelings that it was like coming in. And so it was really beautiful to be able to know that, like you said, everyone holds sovereignty at the highest. So it's like whatever each of us were going through, it's like we can show up and co-create. We can feel all our feels. And so I thought it was beautiful because to be able to, like, I had to integrate that all week when we were back, is what it's like to co-create with that much sovereignty. Like, and
it's
it
totally
was
different.
Totally different. Nothing like I've ever done before. And I was like, okay, I'm into this. Like,
do you feel as though, okay, so let's talk a little bit about your Sophia Circle leadership and actually facilitating your first journey, because that was happening while you came to Austin. Is that correct? Are you still leading this first journey, or where are you in the book?
We're heading into Mother Mary, which I loved that I was at Green Tara through the whole, it was perfect.
Oh my gosh, during the Austin Immersive?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And Green Tara, we even had a portion of that conference dedicated to her in the Dakinis.
So I felt that super deeply. And it's been amazing because like each journey, each circle that goes on, it's just like more magic, more. And it's funny because some people are, I'll say me, at the beginning was like, oh, it's the same circle blueprint. Like all my perfectionists, all my like overachieving was, how is it going to be if we run the same blueprint? Yeah. But it's more magical. It builds. It's like to see the dragon ride is something that I absolutely love. And so it was really cool to be able to be on that journey as I was at a live event and see how it's still all co-creating.
Yeah. And, the structure, the blueprint of each gathering in a Sophia Circle journey, which there's 13 gatherings to complete the journey through the book, it creates this very emotionally safe structure because the codex is wildly creative. There's nothing not creative about it. And what is interesting is like there is creativity in what passages are being chosen by the facilitator, what group discussions are being facilitated by the group leader. And But I love that you're speaking to this, because I think that is a concern for more creatively oriented entrepreneur types of like, it's got to be wildly different every single time. And the truth is that that structure really allows people to have a very deep journey with something that is wildly activating.
And I love that you're speaking about that because that is so true. So what I realize is, and I'm only speaking for myself, but when I was constantly wanting like wildly different, it was because there was this codependency in me that I needed to facilitate from like my ego or like my human self. But it was like, oh, I can just, show up in a good way as my human and sovereign divine self, and then allow Christ consciousness to do the work. Like, okay. I was like, this is the biggest get to. So it has been like a million pounds off my back. It's been the liberation of a lifetime, to be honest.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
That feels so good to hear you reflect on that. So, how do you feel as though practicing this, ironically, wildly creative energy, the creative genius of Christ consciousness through facilitation, how did that prepare you to come into co-creation with our leaders at the event in Austin?
Well, that's a really good question. And I feel like it's almost something that's happening internally.
Yeah.
Um, I think that it's just bringing away like layers. And each time I step in, it was like, okay, I'm ready for this. Like, it's hard to explain what it also does like internally, and we talk about multidimensionally.
Yes.
So I feel like just the more I'm continuing to be in this energy to journey with it, I can show up to those situations and know like, hey, here I am. Let's do this. you know?
And would co-creating with other leaders in the past have felt like, what would that have felt like for you before becoming a certified leader?
So that is also a good question because I love community and I love working with others. And there used to be a side of me that was I needed it my way, like I needed to understand it, like it had to be because that created safety for me. And so previously in the past, if I were to be doing that, I would have probably felt really anxious or like out of control. But it was like, no, everybody's showing up in such a good way. And it's like you get to see the beauty in like half of the ideas are coming up I wouldn't have even thought of. And so it's like, this is really awesome because it just gets to be like more magical than if it was up to my human, ego to
I
keep me
love
safe.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. When we're all intersecting puzzle pieces for one another, and that creative genius of Christ consciousness can flow through us as community leaders and in community context when we know that we can trust that everyone else has been doing their inner work.
And that was such a healing for me. Yeah.
Huh, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. So tell me about how your relationship with these exceptional key code ascended masters in the Sophia Code, how's your relationship deepened with them as you facilitated your first Sophia Circle journey?
So there has been such a deepening of trust. So I've always felt connected to, different realms, things like that. But we live in a world where often you can't talk about it. You don't know if it's really happening. Like there's a lot of confusion around it. And so deepening into my relationships, it's like without a doubt trusting, yes, I'm having this conversation with Isis. Like, yes, I'm being shown a sign, Green Tara is here. And so it's just such a trust and a belief in not only myself, but like the fact that we are supported far beyond our understanding, and even it's so for me, it's been that. It's been like, this is how I get to live my life. And it's an amazing get to.
So how would you describe the journey that you've experienced, that moment that you came into contact with the Sophia Code, coming to Sedona, then choosing to do the certification program and facilitate your first journey? How would you describe moving from that more of like that spiritual, wherever that spiritual place was? Sometimes we call it that moving from spiritual infancy into maturity. And a lot of people don't understand that, oh, I've been spiritual for 20 years. And it's like, have you actually stepped into the conversation of sovereignty or the Christhood within you? Like, because that's a different conversation, right? So how would you describe whatever you would want to call that journey for yourself, with it, as you've been journeying with the Sophia Code and now helping others to journey through the Sophia Code with your facilitation? Like, what's been your biggest takeaway from that journey?
I'm just taking it all in right now. So it's really interesting. It's kind of like, even though the journey has not always been easy, right? It's had its challenges. It's like I'm so devoted to becoming like my truest self, like serving. It's such a devotion to me that there's no other way that I want to live. And since I've been in this, going to the events, the Sophia Circle Ladies training, all of it, I no longer have this like impending doom. Like, I know that sounds intense, but growing.
Yeah, share
Okay.
about that. Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of people feel an unconscious doom that they can't even put into words. So I love that you're somatically describing what it felt like for you.
So growing up, like I remember as early as 5, 6, like I would just have this, like, it felt like a crushing, I didn't know what it was, but anxiety or doom. And it followed me through my whole life, almost like something was pushing me, like, and then it was like when I found this and I started to become on this journey, I don't have that anymore, because it's like, you're on the path, you're walking the way, you're deepening into this, and everything's okay. And so it's just been like, it showed me that even through challenges, like you can still be okay. And that's just kind of how it's been the most transformational. I don't want to start crying, but it's been the most transformational thing of my life. And it's just like words can't describe how special it is. So yeah, I mean, that's that.
Oh my God. One of the things that I'm really feeling from what you just shared is there was this feeling of doom was replaced by a certainty. And I'm wondering if you could maybe share, is it the certainty of knowing your divinity, the certainty of feeling your higher self, the certainty of your direct connection to source, or mentoring with the masters? When you speak of the certainty, could you share a little bit more?
Absolutely. And thank you for putting that into words, because I feel like it's all of that. And it's this, like I never heard sovereign divinity. You never, like, before this. And it's just like a certainty that, my soul is always going to be okay. Like we've always, and it is the certainty of, oh my gosh, I was born worthy. Like I'm whole and complete already. I'm just having to, like, go through this human journey, and, we're so supported. So that, I think that level of support is like nothing I've ever felt before. So.
Oh my gosh, that just fills my cup to hear those words, because I mean, that's the everything, right? It's why any of us want to lead or be of service, is because we want other people to feel supported in ways that we might not have felt supported. We want other people to know they're loved in ways that we might not have felt we were loved in the beginning of our journey. And to hear how supported you feel by the Sophia Code and the Ascended Masters, that just, oh my God, that lights up my whole heart. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I feel like we've covered a lot of grounds here, and I'm so curious. So you're getting ready for facilitating your next Sophia Circle journey? Is this the good news?
It is the good news. I'm so excited. So July 30th, so closer to the end of summer area, and it's going to be actually once a month. I'm doing, yeah, and I was really guided to take this really like a longer journey, more
Yes.
integration time, because when I was doing some interviews, I was seeing that that's maybe more supportive. And then my higher self was like, yes, that is perfect. And so I'll be doing one circle a month starting July 30th. And I'm excited to go on this 13-month journey for those that are called.
And this is going to be an online journey?
This is an online journey. Yeah.
Wonderful. So we could have souls from all over the world joining you, Jade, on your next Sophia Circle journey. I love that for us. Yes. Oh my gosh. So I just want to thank you again for this opportunity to have such a special conversation with you. You've always been such a light in my heart. And now that I get to know you as a pillar in our community as one of our beloved certified Sophia Circle leaders, I'm just so happy to celebrate you here on YouTube. Please check out Jade on our official Sophia Circle Leaders directory on my website at kaira.com. Again, Jade's next online journey is going to begin July 30th of this summer. And I just cannot speak highly enough about Jade. So please check her out and please consider going on her Sophia Circle journey because I just know how special it's going to be. Thank you, Jade, so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for this conversation, this opportunity. Thank you for everything.
My honor to be co-leading this movement with you, Jade.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Namaste.